Well, the Bills certainly took a hard one on the chin, but it is possible that there was an even harder hit loss after the first divisional matchup.
San Francisco limps into Seattle with hopes and dreams, but right now it's looking like nothing but a nightmare.
Divisional weekends here. Sunday Scaries with Buccs McGee breaking down Saturday's action.
Sometimes in life, things can be cruel. Sometimes a win can just turn into defeat, and then sometimes you're just not meant to win at all. And Saturday could be just teaching us this harsh lesson in the NFL.
Yes. And there's a lot of sour feelings going on. Divisional weekend's barely 24 hours old, and already some sour grapes being dealt around.
This is I don't know if there's ever been a divisional weekend as such. Um, all I know is at one point Denver was excited, living the dream, and now it's turned into a nightmare. And New England and Houston are now sitting there going, maybe it's our time.
Yes, Denver's excitement lasted a whole 20 minutes, I believe. And that's just to the football media consuming public. It was probably even less than that to the actual locker room.
Unreal. But you know what? Buffalo's defense might be like, that's what happens when the refs are throwing flags. You don't get what you deserve sometimes. It was I don't know. Wow. I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But first, before, the horrid news, you got to give Denver their credit, man. Heck of a game. Heck of a game.
Yeah. And if you're living under a rock and wondering what we're alluding to, we will break down the game a bit later on. But the breaking news, of course, out of divisional weekend is Bo Nix, after a emotional, heroic overtime victory over Buffalo, fractures a bone in his ankle and will miss the remainder of the playoffs. It's Jared Stidham time. This is just an incredibly deflating news item to hit the Denver Broncos.
Jared Stidham. And where did Jared Stidham begin?
Auburn, War Eagle.
Jared Stidham. Wow, man. Wow. It's unbelievable. On the other side of this, the ride's over for Buffalo. At one point I thought they were pulling this out, but I guess it was too many turnovers by Superman, even though Superman kept them in the game. But the deciding factor, some people will say, was the officiating crew in overtime.
Yes. Yeah. So let's start it off with old Josh. You have to feel for this guy because he cannot, like, all the hype this week, and it really, I guess, over the last couple of weeks is no Mahomes, no Burrow, no Lamar, all his contemporaries not in the playoffs. He's just got a crop of fresh-faced puppies in front of him to deal with. So it's like, okay, this is the year. If there's ever going to be a year that Josh wins, this is it. He has a Superman effort against the Jags, and then this one comes around, and I noticed CBS threw up a stat that said career 0-6 in overtime, 0-2 in the postseason, notch another tally to each of the loss columns there. So that's not the best kind of star on Josh Allen's otherwise spectacular career.
It was like when they jinxed the kicker, and they're like, oh, he hasn't missed all season from 28 to 32, and then the kicker shanks the 29-yarder with ease there. But yeah, I don't know what Josh has to do at this point. It was once they hit overtime, I'm like, okay, this is how he wins it. You know, they pull it out in overtime, and the Cinderella's not Cinderella's per se, but the dream season continues for Buffalo. You know, he exercises another, I guess, you know, demon in a way, you know, because everyone has been saying this team isn't as good as, you know, as past Buffalo teams, and he's had to carry them. And for a lot of this game, he did have some turnovers, but he had them there at the end. And you never want the game to be in the officials' hands. Now, some people are going to say, you know, don't throw the flags, let them play. Honestly, the flags were warranted, unfortunately, from what I, you know, and watching and everything. And it was just bad. You know, we talked about this defense, how much malign it was, how injured it was, but they were able to keep them in games and able to come up with turnovers and things of that nature throughout the season. But unfortunately, the defense was the undoing of this team.
Yeah, too much kind of a scrap parts put together unit. On the note of those turnovers, in spite of Josh's just trying to do it all himself, how much blame do you put on him for the turnovers? If any, I suppose.
You have to hold them somewhat responsible, you know. And if you look at the bigger picture, it's like, okay, he didn't have, you know, this offense really didn't have a true number one. It was like a bunch of parts, and then, you know, Josh kind of kept this whole thing going. But at the end of the day, you know, we, you know, especially here on this show, we hold quarterbacks to the fire who don't perform. You know, who we call fraudulent. Yeah, who we call fraudulent, and, you know, some people get mad about that. But, you know, Josh had a chance to win it at the end, and unfortunately, you know, the defense wasn't able to hold up their end of the bargain. So I do hold Josh, you know, a bit responsible for the turnovers, no doubt, but he was able to get over that and get this team to overtime. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and bash him, but yeah, you know, they could, if without the turnovers, one or two less, they probably win this game in regulation.
How much is Josh's legacy hurt from losing a playoff game like this, considering the competition that is otherwise available in the AFC?
It's one of those things where, like I said, and I've used this analogy before, where, like, let's say the Knicks and the 76ers during the Jordan era. Both those teams were great, you know, and such like that, or even, you know, Phoenix. And they just could never get over the hump because Michael was
Jordan.
there, you know? And it just seems that Josh, for whatever reason, gets these opportunities, but just can't get over the hump. And now if it comes to the point of, what does Buffalo have to do? Is it the quarterback position? No. Josh has proven that he's carried this team. He's the guy offensively, but does there need to be a new voice in defense? And maybe a head coach? You know, it's a question. I don't want to, you know, I'm not saying McDermott needs to be fired, but we've also talked about this with John Harbaugh.
That's where I was going.
You know,
your shot again.
Okay, I'm not trying to be a death dealer or something like that. I'm not here to end people's jobs, but this conversation begins. It's like, okay, has McDermott taken this team as far as he can take them, and now does there need to be somebody else with a fresh eye? The defense is going to have to be retooled. You're going to have to get some parts. Offensively, Josh needs a number one. He needs a number one receiver. He absolutely has to have one. You know, these guys, you know, Keon Coleman, Brandon Cooks, they're good players, but there is no dominant receiver that Josh can really go to in crunch time. Like, you were hoping these guys, you know, a lot of teams have like that guy.
Yeah.
And who is Buffalo's that guy not named Josh Allen?
Yeah. James Cook is nice, and he is a dual threat back, but James Cook tends to be home run or nothing.
Yeah, and what they did was they started bottling him up, and after a while he was a non-factor. And you saw what Josh had to do. He had to go to different guys, and like I said, these receivers, filled in admirably, but he needs that guy.
On the flip side, especially in light of the Nix injury, the fact that Denver had absolutely zero running game in this one, that is obviously a much bigger glaring weakness in light of the Nix injury than it was potentially for this game just completed.
Oh man, this is huge because now, mind you, Buffalo's defense is solid. Like it's a solid defensive unit. Yeah, we joke about them, being beat up and stuff, but as a unit, they play great. Now you take Bo Nix out of that equation. You can't run the ball. Who do you end up playing? If you end up playing Houston, my opinion, it's a wrap, Jack. I'm sorry. Houston's sitting there. They're sharpening the claws. That's just going to be a mess. If it's New England, they may not be as ferocious as Houston, but that defense is still quality and schematically is going to cause Stidham issues. So right now, Sean Payton's got to sit there and say, okay, I got to get this run game going because I don't know if Stidham's going to be, a playoff hero and, throw for 300 yards against either of these defenses and, lead them down the field for, scores.
Yeah. And I know where you're going before with where he came from, considering he was with the Patriots for so many years, but I had to get in my Auburn crack there.
I know you did, but now he sits, but yeah, it's like, okay, New England didn't want me anymore. He's gone, and now he could very well face them.
Yeah, I mean, how just to play with the devil's advocate, so to speak, how close is a Jarrett Stidham Super Bowl victory to the old like Nick Foles type of situation? How close is this?
If I had to pick one of the two for my life to win a game, I'm taking Nick Foles, man. I don't know Jarrett Stidham. I don't know the last time Stidham's really taken meaningful snaps. This is going to be unreal to him. So basically right now he's probably sitting there at the facility going over film more than he ever has. This is unreal. Like I don't know the last time we've seen something like this, and he's going to have to be the guy. He's going to have to be the guy. They're going to have to be able to throw the ball, because the run game is non-existent like it was this week. They have no chance, no matter how great that defense is. And now, mind you, that depending on which quarterback they face, it may be an easier time facing Houston just because are you taking C.J. Stroud or Drake May?
The corpse of C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. Like what is he going to be? 15 yards in a cloud of dust, or Drake May that can sling it all over the field and run. So, in the dynamic run game that the Patriots have. So, Denver's in for it, man. It's going to be tough. This may end up being the greatest coaching job of Sean Payton's career.
Yeah, believe me, I'm not exactly super thrilled that New England gets yet another easy carpet laid out here. I mean, all credit to Houston's amazing defense, but I mean, New England's also got a pretty good defense. So C.J. Stroud shouldn't pose much of a threat to them, and then they get Jarrett Stidham lined up next.
Wow, imagine that. New England, year ago, 3 wins and a ha-ha, and now people are like, oh, look at this schedule. Oh, man, look how easy. They're going to get exposed in the playoffs, riding off to Santa Clara to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, you brought it up before. I think the topic that's going to get the most attention out of this Bills game is the officiating. One, of course, was that sleight of hand interception that went to the ground for Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks, the hero from last week against the Jaguars. And then, of course, the PIs. The first one, watching it live, I was like, oh, that's a terrible call. Seeing it on replay, he's grabbing his arm. He's not watching the ball. I get that one. The one down to set them up in the goal line, that's one I think they should have let them play.
It's one of those things where if it's really egregious, then okay, throw it. But you knew what Denver was doing. They weren't trying to complete a pass, I don't think. The way Bo was throwing that ball up, they were looking, trying to get a call. And they get 2 calls? Come on. Because those throws were those throws were like lollipops. Like when I saw the ball coming out of his hands on both of those, I'm like, oh man, that's got to be a pick. Like someone's got to come over the top because those things were just floaters. But and when you look at them, I think the second one was legit. The timing, if you watch it, White gets there early, and White's got to know better than that. Like at least turn around and play the ball a little better. Maybe he gets benefit of a doubt, but he hits Sutton way before the ball gets there. They're gonna call that. They just are. And then after that one, he decides to get mad and upset at the world, take his helmet off, slam it on the ground. Okay, why don't you just say, go ahead, Denver, why don't you score the touchdown and we'll call it a day? Like there's just sometimes where you mess up and you got to walk off the field. It is what it is. I'm sure he's going to look at it and he's got to say, yeah, I got there early, because he did. He got there early. But yeah, I think, in that case, I can't blame the refs that much. But the first one, that one was a little too much for me.
I do. And it didn't even need, the PIs didn't even need to happen to know things were going to go as soon as they had that interception that was kind of juggled between 2 players' hands.
Yeah. Well, once the pick happened, I'm like, oh man, here it comes. Josh is getting robbed. Here we go. But at the end of the day, if Josh has 1 or 2 less turnovers, like I said, they have firm control of the game. They probably win this thing.
Yeah. Speaking of firm control of the game,
Why? There's certain times where the NFL should be able to invoke a mercy rule and just say, okay, because it's just not right, and people are watching, but they're not watching.
Yeah. The Seahawks got off to a hot start in this one. They went a little cold in the second quarter, but after halftime they started reeling it off again. I think the big question here, the way this started out, is Shaheed the best acquisition of the trade deadline? Why
did you kick it to him? Why? Like, I get it. You don't want to. You're not supposed to be afraid of players and things like that. But sometimes you just got to be smart. You know that you are offensively limited beyond belief. You don't have Kittle. You're a walking M.A.S.H unit. Like, make Seattle earn it. Nope, we're gonna kick it to Shaheed, and he's just gonna burn us for 95 yards. And then it's like, here we go. Like, you just knew it, man. Once he does that, I was like, oh, this is not gonna be good. This is not good. And this I give the Niners credit. I really do. They've battled throughout the season, but unfortunately, the bell looks like it's about to toll, and unfortunately, it's Seattle, and they're handling the business.
Now, a big topic going into this one was Sam gonna show up, or was he gonna crumble? Now, do you kind of take a little pressure off of Sam here, or was it just the fact that this game got off the rails pretty early and never really slowed down? And it's like, okay, Sam, you didn't screw up, but at the same time, you also weren't faced with a ton of pressure here.
It's a lose-lose situation. Everyone was watching, waiting to see when the Niners were gonna just fall apart. There was only so far this team was going to go the way it is right now. Once the Kittle injury happened and they were able to survive in Philly, then the question was, okay, you're going to Seattle. The line was 7 points. I was like, I'm surprised. I honestly thought it was going to be 10. I won't lie, because I'm sitting here going, where's the now, mind you, I give the Niners credit, but I'm like, where's the offense going to come from? Because they're going to key in on the run game, and then they're going to make everybody else beat them. And let's be honest, Pearsall's back. Jennings is sporadic, Mr. Third Quarter, as they, affectionately call him. And it's like, where's the offense isn't complete. And it was a matter of time before this team fell apart. And unfortunately, Seattle was the buzzsaw they've run into.
Yeah. Is it more in the injuries on defense, or is it more just the offense being depleted and not having all the weapons available to them?
I think even if Fred Warner was back, I don't think this team offensively can survive. I really don't. I think Seattle's defense has really stepped it up, and today they look incredible. Like they're playing with fire. They know. They knew that, they smelt the blood. They knew that if they didn't handle business today and they lost to a limping San Francisco, there'd be a lot of questions about this team. And this is what you're supposed to do when a team limps into your house, especially in the playoffs. You put your foot on the neck, and this is it. You finish it, and that's what they're doing. You don't play with your food, and they're not playing with it. They've eaten and said, "Okay, give me some more."
No, and coincidentally, this is the trap the Rams have been in more than a few times this year, where they play with their food too much. We saw them get out to the early lead against the Panthers, and they let Bryce Young hang around and get back into it. Seattle obviously does not have that problem.
No, not at all. And if the Rams, make it out tomorrow, and we get Seattle Rams Part 3, the Rams better be very careful, because they need to be watching this game saying, the Niners are beat up and they're not at full strength, but this Seattle is ready. Seattle wants a Super Bowl, and if you get them down early, and like you said, the Rams like to, we like to be pretty and blah blah blah, be all fancy. When Seattle, in a quarter or two later, when you're looking at Seattle up by 2 touchdowns, you're going to ask what happened. So. Yeah. The NFC needs to heed this game, and whoever comes out tomorrow and wins, they need to be ready.
One thing that I will note as a sign of positivity and not all negative on the state of the Niners is the fact that Kenny Walker has shown up in this one, kind of had a little bit of resurgence, when most of the second half of the season it very much looked like he had lost his starting job to Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Niners, they probably didn't wish that this was the game where he showed back up. They probably were happy. They were happy with one back, having to deal with one back. Now, when both of these backs are at the height of their superpower, Seattle's run game is unbelievable. So if all of a sudden they've clicked it on, and now Sam doesn't have to do everything and can just work off the run game. Seattle's going to be a legit threat to win the Super Bowl.
Do you do you take a little bit of the heat off of Sam Darnold now that he's won a playoff game, or is it kind of just like, hey, you played the Niners who were reeling?
No, you can't control who you play in the playoffs, just like you can't control who you play in the regular season. We always said that Sam needs to show up in the playoffs. He's great in the regular season, but the playoffs is where the ghosts show up and he just can't get it. And he's playing a clean game. We got to give Sam credit. Hey, he's not his fault the Niners are beat to hell. So now someone might say, the Niners were beat up, blah blah blah. Not his fault. It's not his job to sit there and say, I wish my opponent's at full strength and I want to, have the hardest game, in the playoffs. No. All right. Plus he's got the oblique injury. So if he can, have a solid game, not have to do too much, but learn to manage the injury through this game. When he plays again next week, it could be a lot easier for him. It all easier in the sense of dealing with the pain and getting used to that playoff atmosphere. So, no, I think Sam's in a good position.
Yeah, that was the news heading into this game, thinking like, oh, Sam's had this oblique injury towards the end of the week. Maybe he'll be a little limited. He didn't look very limited, and the Niners didn't get much pressure on him. So obviously that oblique injury was a lot of fuss about nothing.
Yeah, when you're not getting, any pressure and, your run game is handling business and you're getting touchdowns from special teams, you really don't have to do that much. You sit there and look pretty and hand it off. Shoot, I don't know, man. One of us could be playing for Seattle right now, quarterback, and I ain't got to throw it. I just hand it off. I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, you got JSN his touchdown, and you only needed to do it from 4 yards out.
That's it, man. I'll be the greatest 5-yard quarterback of all time, man. I'll get my 158.3 perfect rating. I'll make it pretty.
Before we put a bow on divisional Saturday, we should note that Saturday night was a bit of breaking news, not just because of the unfortunate Bo Nix injury, but your most hated Atlanta Falcons have tabbed their next head coach, Kevin Stefanski.
You know what? No, Stefanski's not a bad. He was just in a lose situation in Cleveland, and now we get to see what the guy can do. He's got weapons, but the quarterback is the issue still in a weird way. The guy just can't get a break at the quarterback position. So we're going to find out what they do. Is Penix going to be the guy, or is he going to ride with Kurt for 1 year, depending how Penix bounces back from the injury? But he's got a talented team. So if he screws the pooch here, he's just a better coach with bad players and can turn mush into a somewhat palatable meal. But when you give him the gourmet stuff, he can't do anything with it. It turns it into beefaroni. So
beefaroni.
I'm surprised it was him. I figured it would have been somebody else. I thought Harbaugh would have been their first pick. Yeah. But Harbaugh, wants a quarterback, and we're gonna see what the Falcons do. The quarterback position is the number one question there. They've got talent everywhere else. One of the other questions will be, will Kyle Pitts return? He's a free agent. I'm sure there's going to be some teams that are going to throw the money at him, and he's going to want a fresh start, I think. So we'll see what happens there in Atlanta. But hey, if they think he's the guy, we're going to find out.
Yeah, you thought Harbaugh, I thought Tomlin, and it seems like Mike Tomlin, there's a chance that he may just decide to take a year off or whatnot. So Atlanta, I guess, was kind of standing there looking at, all right, who's the best of what's left?
Yeah, Mike McDaniel. There's a lot of coordinator conversation and stuff like that. So I think Tomlin's going to take the year off. I think it's a smart move, kind of reset, and then next year during the coaching cycle, he'll get his pick, because I'm sure there'll be some positions opening up. There'll be some more dead men walking, unfortunately. We'll talk about somebody. I'll jinx somebody. Someone will lose their job, and there you go. So, Mike Tomlin, if you're out there, and tell me what job you want. I'll start on that. I'll get you going. Just like I said, just give me some sideline gear. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of these jobs shake out. I think within this next week, we're going to kind of see some spots fill up. They're going to have to, because the NFL, usually about this time, it used to slow down a bit. Nope. NFL's a year-long gig now, so they're going to have to get their guy in-house and start getting ready for, pre-draft stuff. So it'll be interesting.
That wasn't a jinx, Bucks McGee. You called your shot.
Oh, man, dude, kiss of death. I apologize. I'm going to change my name, Kiss of Death.
Half a divisional weekend is in the books. Bucks McGee, sir, take us off air with your final thoughts of Buffalo's demise and likely San Francisco's as well.
Josh, man, I was rooting for you, man. I was really rooting for you. You're going to have to really ask some questions about about what's going on in Buffalo and in the offseason, see what happens. Denver, you guys have a mountain to climb now. Bo Nix was on fire, and now he's on the bench. So Jared Stidham's your guy. Going to have to figure it out. San Fran, hell of an effort this year. Hell of an effort. But the bell has tolled, and everyone in the NFC, be ready because Seattle is an angry beast.